And I guess just kind of being a little bit more anal on the finer details, which makes me really, really like inking.
No, I totally understand that. I am a control freak when it comes to art, which is why I use technical pens and not brushes. Like, brushes are too little control for me.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
totally makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. And yeah, same with the fine liners. That's definitely been, oh my God, eye-opening for me to kind of like, I mean, not only for travel, but I mean, again, that control. And I think that's like the biggest part with inking is that sense of and need for control with a lot of things. To a degree,
Yeah,
that's not all inking, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, I got into inking just because I've been a huge fan of manga since I've been into comics, and most of manga is very heavy on inking. And for a long time, I would just played around with like color and all sorts of stuff, and I did just like very basic line art for a while, and then I got a bunch of fancy pens for Christmas once, and just decided to mess around with them on a page, and was like, this is extremely fun. And I started getting more used to heavy blacks and started playing with it. And now my goal is to push it as far as I can and not destroy myself.
The goal with art.
Basically.
Destroy the page, not yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that the point that you bring in the manga influence for inking, just because again, like you said, the medium is so notoriously known for that heavy reliance on inking and the variance that they have on so many different artist levels and stuff like that. Is there like a particular like manga artist that you're like, I wish to obtain their inking skills, Ice?
Um, God, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Definitely, I think it's the Berserk author
Oh
who recently
yes.
passed away. They've been a huge like inspiration for me, but tons of others like I'm so bad at names. um, the artist who did Ran in the Cold World, I shared a thing about
Mm.
that on Twitter a while back. Their stuff is phenomenal, and I love it. Yeah, I've actually been kind of trying to move away from the super um, controlled inking and be a bit more loose with things, and they're great for that.
Big agree. Absolute big agree. The artist who does Doro Hidoro.
Ooh,
Oh
yeah, Doro
gosh.
Hero, yeah.
That's absolute inspirations. I love how wild they go with inks, and again, is definitely the contradiction to both of you and I kind of wanting that controlled space with inking because it seems so loose and very gestural, and that's definitely something that I need to work on.
Oh my god, yeah. It's so grindy in like the best way.
Yes. It's just really cool to see like the different variant styles of what you can and create with different textures and stuff like that with inking. I
Oh,
think like
definitely.
something that like intimidates a lot of people is the perfection that like, you know, a lot of people strive for because like, you know, there's a lot of clean styles out there and whatnot, and I think it's okay to embrace that loosey goosiness.
Oh yeah, I had actually my probably first advice I would give to anyone who is trying to get better at inking, despite everything we've said about being perfectionist, is to get sketchy with your lines, like get sketchy with your inks, because once you get rid of that like fear of inking, you
Mm-hmm.
can do so much more with it.
Mm-hmm. 100% agree. I think it's imperative to kind of learn to work with the mistakes that you make with inking, and
Definitely.
I've definitely like from those mistakes, I've actually like developed a style of inking that includes like different types of like line variation and whatnot. Because I mean, you screw up a line and you're just like, okay, this is part of it now.
I have to deal with this now.
Though, as you're showing with working digital, how do you balance that with the urge to hit the undo button 8,000 times?
Well, a lot of times, even like a line that I just did, it's hard to see like just how minute these details are, because I mean, like Ice and I have said, we're just kind of like, ooh, we really like that perfectionism. But sometimes even when I do like a line that'll come out like this and it's not connecting, I'll often just kind of block it back in to the rest of the work, and I still have that line variation that I really like. And I guess this sounds a little bit more unproductive than it is, but I actually go back with the erase tool like I would a gel pen or a whiteout in traditional ink, and I kind of sculpt it that way. So doing traditional inks has 100% influenced the way that I do digital inks, and I actually don't rely on the undo button as much as I possibly could.
Because it's definitely tempting singing a siren song of, you can get this perfect, just undo all the time.
Nah, the tool I wish for most I could have in real life is actually the like select and move tool,
Oh, right.
because the amount of times I've drawn a perfect head and then I can just like it's too big or too off center, and I can either just like deal with it, or I can like erase it all over and start again. I'm just like, oh. Sometimes I can fix it in post, but then I have this imperfect head staring at me the entire rest of the page. It's just mocking me.
Oh my goodness. Totally agree there. Oh, the big head syndrome with drawing is the definite bane of my existence. There's only so much whiteout can do.
I know. Because if you use too much whiteout, it makes the page undrawable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, like another thing I'm working on right now, I'm I have someone has a name on the back of their jacket, and I actually spelled their name wrong in the inked jacket. Said I can fix it in post, but like there's no way I can fix it traditionally.
Mhm.
And so like it's just staring at me. I'm just like, oh.
Wait till I get you to scan.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix you eventually.
I was actually curious, what is the certain tools that you use for like fine detail fixing, like whiteouts and stuff like that? Is there a specific
Um,
brand?
Normally I use these Posca white pens. They're not perfect, but they're really good for spot fixes. So like, um, if you make a wrong spot, you just like, that's a bad example. But you can just kind of cover it up. It only takes like a pass or two, but it's good for small things. I also have this like artist grade manga whiteout that I got on the internet that is fantastic for big things. But yeah, most of the time I just roll with it best I can.
I think definitely. Now this could be me being biased, and it 100% is, but I think I think with any medium, learning to deal with your mistakes and seeing how they work with it, I think definitely better improves how you handle it in the long run. And inking is definitely one of those things that I kind of think demands those mistakes that you make along the way and kind of workshop. And I think that one of the coolest things, like I said before, is the fact that I think style is created from those mistakes that you have to deal with and go with. And even if there is an undo button with digital, I think that it still exists. the possibility to make those mistakes and deal with it and just kind of go with it. And yeah, what is it? Miss Frizzle says, "Get messy makes mis." Oh, I'm gonna say it so wrong, but I'm gonna just say Miss Frizzle from Magic School Bus. She had it right.
Yeah, totally. It's like that D&D thing where sometimes like let your critical fails and stuff like don't be mad about them because it just a lot of times just make things more interesting. It's kind of like sometimes you mess up a page, but you're like, hey, I figured something really cool out of this. I've done that a ton of times.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that.
What is for each of you? What is your favorite example of when you've made a mistake or there was an accident or like oops, ink spilled everywhere? Uh, what is your favorite example for each of you that of ways that you've creatively fixed things and worked around the mistake or accident?
Oh goodness.
Oh man, that's difficult. I don't know if I remember. I've definitely had a few times where I accidentally like messed up an eye, like just a stray line went the wrong direction, or I got bumped by my cat and a line went weird, and I had to like ink a lot around it, and it just kind of came out as like this isn't something I could use all the time, but I could definitely it's messy, but it looks good for a certain kind of thing that I can do later. I don't know. A lot of it's small stuff. Um, yeah, I don't have a specific one. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I don't think I've like 100% made a mistake like smooth
No
into the
mistakes.
piece. I've definitely had what you said with cat aggro,
Oh my
feeling
god.
ink, and definitely fixing it digitally or as much as I can with whiteout. There's only a couple times that I'm just like, haha, it was intentional, but I think it's when I have more darker pieces that I can be like, ah, I was thinking about this the whole time.
Oh, totally.
Cat aggro or artistic inspiration?
Yeah, you can't tell.
You'll never know.
It's like that adage in music where they say like if you hit a wrong note in a piece, just keep going because most likely you're the only one that's gonna notice.
It's true.
Oh, absolutely. No one's gonna notice if you mess up a tiny line. Like people are just it's one of my favorite things about just generally getting better as an artist is you start seeing mistakes in other people's stuff. And like
Mhm.
I try not to say that too much because a lot of people you're talking to are terrified of that. But not in like a bad way. It's like it's great because you get to see like even really, really popular like famous authors just scribble in the background sometimes because they're just like and they're just like, yeah.
That's so true.
They're just like, I don't care about this hand, it's in the background.
I think that's just really cool to just again embrace the mistakes and embrace
Yeah.
that process to do it because there's a lot of art to get done and you don't have
Oh
time to
my
make
god.
everything perfect.
Yeah.
We're such a
Deadlines.
contradiction.
I know.
We love perfection, but it's never achievable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Drop it as soon as you can.
Learn from our mistakes and don't be a perfectionist.
Oh. So slight change, of course, but I wanted to go into a little bit more about how you mentioned getting as you progressed in art, you're able to sort of notice more things in both your own work and others, but a lot of the hard work of inking is getting there. Um, how did you each of you sort of develop your particular style of inking?
Um,
Origin stories.
yeah. It was a lot of just studying manga and webcomics, studying different people stuff, and then a lot of it was not hold on, being less afraid of larger pen sizes. When I first started out, I only used like the smallest pen size because I was so worried about messing stuff up. But I don't know, if you can just kind of embrace like the larger pen sizes, you can get a lot more variation and stuff. I don't know. That's kind of how it just happened.
I
I
totally agree.
yeah. I tend to focus more on clarity than like actual shading. That's something I've noticed about my lines, but yeah.
Gosh, I think everything just comes back to just making those mistakes and seeing kind of what sticks um,
Very
with a
true.
lot of things, especially inking. It's interesting to me. I mean, again, I definitely will say that we are a huge contradiction so far with us wanting our perfection, but also we're like screw around and see what happens. But I think that's just something that needs to be embraced. I think that, you know, especially learning any kind of new medium, kind of jumping in there and just seeing what sticks and playing with the different tools. I think that's always the number one piece of
Yes.
advice that I give with people who are kind of unhappy with the inks or whatever medium that they're choosing. It's just like, well, I think it's time to switch the tools that you're using, and especially like in the age of digital art where you have like this whole side filled with different types of tools, which can be very overwhelming actually at first when you're just like, I don't know what any of this means, and I'm just gonna stick with the first default pen, which there is no problem with default pens.
G pen for life.
But yeah. But I think it's good to just try out the different types and styles of inking and mediums to see what sticks. I mean, recently I'm kind of betraying myself in the fact that I am um, much more happy with my traditional inks than digital. This is new that I'm getting more into digital inking. But for my traditional inks, I used to just use certain fine liners, and I've recently got into using the nib pens, and that has completely changed the way that I ink now, and somehow it's even more enjoyable. So embrace those different options and just really see what actually sticks with that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the really long-winded answer to my question of how I found my style.
Well, yeah, you went into that a little bit about like so when you're kind of looking to start a piece and you're working with those fine lines and outlines. So where do you look to where how do you decide where you're going to start on a piece?
Um, well, for me, I typically the most important spot, the spot that needs the most control to it. So on a face, that would normally be, well, the eyes and the face, like the eyes and the expression. Or in this case, on this like in a larger panel, it might be the two like focus points, like the characters or the like whatever the focus point of that shot is typically where I will start, and then I will move out from there.
Yeah, same brain.
Woo!
Absolute same brain. I think I always start with the facial features first. Like I said, the most needing to be controlled kind of areas. And then kind of go ham everywhere else. I think there was that meme. Oh goodness, I wish I knew where it was. It was about inking, which is great because I'm such a nerd about it. But it was talking about you using your most finest, most expensive pen for the two eyes, and then the rest of the piece you just use like whatever the heck, one size pen, it doesn't matter kind of thing. And I'm just like, oh dear, that's me.
Because like again, this is like me talking about like noticing things in other people's art. That's how like people have done it forever. Like even in Berserk, there are shots where like the part you focus on, the part that you like really pay attention to is like really well done, and then the background or like something else is just like you can. It's not bad, but you can tell it was just like done much faster. And
Mhm.
like yeah, because otherwise it'll take a billion years.
Oh gosh, yes. 100%, especially with comics. It's
Oh my
just
god.
something that, oh my goodness. Uh, kind of ditching that 100% in every single crevice that you could see. It's definitely like focusing on the more important pieces and then, you know, getting the rest done. I
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. And with that, you know, like with the amount of time and effort that it takes for comics in general, um, how do you know when you're this when you can be like, okay, I'm done with this panel, I'm done with this page, it's moving on time, um, and how prone would you say you are to overworking a page, and how would you manage that?
I I am an expert at overworking a page, which is my best skill. But I've gotten a lot better at just saying like it's done. And again, part of that comes down to focusing on the main elements of a page first, and then like doing the. I guess I do outlines after that. Like I work generally big to small to try and keep myself from putting a ton of time into a tiny little area. So like I will do yeah, like the big shapes first and then get down to the smaller details normally. And that generally helps me from overworking too much.
God. Oh, I don't know. I think I mean it's pretty sad, not sad, but oh God. It's hard because comics are such a long heckin' journey to
Oh
kind of
yeah.
discover your style and what you're comfortable with creating. And again, me saying before, it wasn't until recently that I got using a nib pen for inking and understanding contrast better kind of forced me to like let go of pages and know when to stop and kind of I don't know, just setting those internal goals to be like, okay, like there's only so much you can do and people are only going to be staring at each panel for X amount of seconds.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to get this comic done.
Especially with the time scales that comics take, absolutely.
Oh
Oh my god,
gosh,
yeah.
yes. The many hats to wear to make a comic happen. It's a lot.
So when you are working with different ink styles, like you mentioned, Crispy, about you know, switching between nib pens or fine liners or digital, um, for I guess, and I guess this would work for either of you. What do you find as far as the limitations as you switch between different styles and different methods of inking?
Oh god. So
Fine
many.
liners take the longest. That's for sure. Uh, um, but I don't know. Fine liners take the longest. brushes have the most amount of like line variation, which can look great with people who know how to use it. But I don't know. I still struggle with that. But I don't know. It's a lot. You kind of have to go back and forth. The people who can like switch from brush to fine liners and to wedges and back all in one thing like quickly are amazing.
Definitely God mode. 100%. Like the mindset changes when you use those different like tools too. And I mean, like you were saying, Ice, the switch to fine liners to brush, that's two different like disciplines on how the tool works. I mean, you're both doing inking, but you know, the variations and like how you have to handle it with your pressure and the way you hold the piece or
Oh yeah,
sorry tool is, oh my goodness, it's a lot of discipline, honestly.
yeah,
It whew, big props to
yeah.
people who can do all of that.
Oh, yeah. Everything from like where your hands, like how you move your hand and where you start a line is like so different. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can't like go up, which I know you're not even supposed to do with these, but like it's just such a weird thing with brushes and stuff like that. I've ruined so many brushes by just being like,
But that's a good point that you're talking about, like even going up with how you control the pen. I mean, like with digital, it can go any way, and you can make any kind of stroke with a lot of things, depending. They've gotten really, really
yeah,
cool at mimicking some of the things. Even with this calligraphy brush, you can see how it depends where you kind of go with those flat lines. Um, but yes, a lot of it is depending on the angle that you hold it and the direction that you go. Oh my god, I'm passionate about inking. If I were to give anyone advice on where to start with all of this, because it can seem very, very intimidating, is I mean, if you have access to try a lot of stuff, even if it's cheap, um, I would go right for it. And same with digital, because they have downloadable brushes and whatnot. I would take a piece that you like, some pencil drawing, and I would try inking it in a bunch of different brushes and see what sticks.
oh, definitely.
Because
I would
trying is where you
recommend.
learn.
You can keep going.
Oh no, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Uh, I would recommend if you're gonna start out doing like gesture inks. I know I mentioned this once to you, Rennie.
Yeah.
Like do gesture drawings with just like a straight up pen because it will one help you be sketchier, but it also just if you do it with different kinds of pens, you'll learn exactly how they each work. It'll just kind of force you to figure out what and where to do things. You know, it's a good way to just kind of force yourself into figuring out how to ink and getting over that fear of it being a permanent line.
Big agree. It's always the biggest thing that I see when people are intimidated with inks is having it like look really clean and I don't know, precise the first time they use it. And I think a lot of it just has to do with letting go of that perfection again.
God,
we attain to be perfectionists, and yet
we know it is impossible.
Yeah. Oh, and Ray was saying in the chat, jetpens.com has brush pen samplers that you can get and just try, mess around, find out, and just see what
that is
works for you and doesn't. And I know on the
absolutely
digital side, an easy, a popular app is Paint Tool Sai, where there's a ton of comics that are just drawn in that, and that's a free app. If you're kind of hesitant to drop the money for a clip studio or heaven forbid a Photoshop. So you mentioned gesture inks and gesture drawings. What are some of the other ways that you practice your inking and practice your craft?
Oh, Ice has that really cool example of doing textures on their own. Like she created like all of these really cool stock images of inks.
Yeah, that I would recommend doing that. It's a lot of fun. Because you can just overlay them onto the back of certain stuff. But practicing textures in themselves is actually like a really fantastic way to warm up and figure stuff out. There's actually I can't remember the name of it, but there's a couple inking books that like you've probably seen it online at some point. It's like a cube of like a texture, like a wood or something like that, and just trying to figure out how to ink, like how to figure out. Sorry, I'm talking over myself. How to ink the texture of a tree or something like that, or grass or fur. Just doing that for 15, 20 minutes is great. It's a great warm up and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, like that repetitive nature of like kind of doing your own quote unquote stock images or doing the texture of trees and stuff like that really helps you handle the inking tool like 100%. I think it's an excellent way because I think like one of the main things about getting that I don't know, that connection with the tool is understanding the pressure and whatnot needed to make those variations or make it work the way you want it to, because there's definitely a million different ways to ink. But just seeing how your hand kind of plays with that and how it works with the different styles, I think that's an awesome way. Make textures for days.
I want to make more. I have so many different ideas for textures.
If you sell them as stock images, I am 100% buying them.
Oh my god.
Those textures also seems like a great way to just like veg out and just watch a TV show or something while you're doing it and just space out. It's great.
Oh, totally. It's so relaxing. Because like it depends on the texture. Like one of them was very freeform, so I was just kind of like really lightly holding the pen and just kind of going crazy with it. And the other one, which was a snake texture, was extremely technical. So I was like doing the exact opposite. So yeah, it's a very fun way to warm up.
I love inks.
We have about 10 minutes left. In a couple minutes, we'll start taking some questions from the chat if anyone has them. So the one of the other questions that was given to us beforehand was deciding on paper, and I think that mediums rolls into this. So how do you decide what medium you want to use, or what paper type, or when you're thinking about a piece, how do you decide how you're going to approach it with inks as far as the medium itself?
For me, it's always Bristol paper. Like, just because, like, smooth Bristol is the best paper to ink on, at least in my opinion. It is so smooth and it's so nice, and inking on non-Bristol feels horrendous. I hate that I've become kind of a paper snob, but it feels so different.
Oh my god. I agree. I'm sorry, I'm just sitting here agreeing. But I love Bristol. Bristol comes with two different sides too. You have your smooth top, and then usually the bottom has a little bit more tooth. But it's cheap. You can get a lot of it, and it's the most satisfying thing to ink with. I swear to heck. I
Oh
love
god.
Bristol. I 100% agree. That said, I don't use Bristol for doing my comics.
What kind of paper do you use?
I use a mixed media piece. The paper is good for watercolors and acrylics and stuff, so it's got a bit more of a tooth. A little bit scarier to use with some of the fine liners when you go like the 005 with a micron. It gets a little finicky, but I do enjoy the texture and it holds inks really well, as does Bristol. But I have the other paper.
Bristol's a bit more specialized. It doesn't hold color nearly as much as some
Mhm.
other things, so that totally makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Bristol for life, though. And it also, a lot of the paper temperament comes with like the finishing touches as well, and how you kind of go about the piece. I was actually curious, Ice, how you do the erasing part. Like, do you work with a light board? How do you erase any of that? Do you just scan it away? Like,
Um, what do you mean, like fixing mistakes in inks and stuff, or?
erasing the under pencil.
Oh, yeah, that. That's actually why I pencil in blue. Um, because yeah, you can. It's also unfortunately the reason why I still use Photoshop. Uh, because it's the only program that allows me to easily just key out the blue. Um, like you literally just you scan it in color, and then you can just click off the blue channel, and you have the line art without the pencil.
I'm obsessed with that.
It's fantastic. I can try and make a video, or I'll try and make a tutorial for it, and I can post that maybe in a day or two and let you know. Just because
Yes.
it's a couple weird steps, but um, yeah, it's super great. The only issue with blue pencil, which I definitely recommend, and I started using it forever because it doesn't smudge much, but it is very hard to erase. So it might actually help you with inking because
Yes.
you have to kind of commit to what you're doing.
Oh, I like that a lot.
The
I
moment Clip Studio
I
makes it easy to remove the blue will be the moment that they're far too powerful for this
oh my
mortal
god,
realm.
yeah. I got the lead I'm using from Pentel's website like forever ago. I don't know if they still sell it. I don't know. There was a rumor going around that they were not going to sell it anymore, so I bought like a million packs because they were like $1 each, and
Oh
I've
my
been
god.
using them ever since.
So
Oh
you
my
use
goodness.
blue mechanical?
Yes, blue mechanical lead. I am too finicky to use a regular pencil.
What about you, Crispy? How do you deal with your under pencils and things
Ah,
like that?
well, as I have said before, I am the artist of
Drawer.
Ghost Junk. So my main skill in that is that I do the inking, and Space Rocket Bunny does the pencils. She works in a 2B lead, so we do have to erase the underlines. But I have recently discovered my best friend ever with the mono erasers, which, oh my gracious, they do not disturb the fading of the ink that you can definitely have with a lot of erasers that once in
Oh,
contact
really?
it will ruin your inks. But mono is amazing for that. And again, switching to the nib pen with a kind of a fountain style ink has definitely helped make that more firm. But I definitely have to do the erasing part, which is 100% my most hated part. And I don't think I could ever commit to doing a light box kind of treatment where I would have to like trace it 100% just because it's a different style that I'm inking and I have to merge the two. So erasing is in my future forever.
Definitely doesn't let you skip arm day.
No. Have you seen these guns? No.
Oh. So we have about 5 minutes left. So at this point, I want to see if anyone in the chat has any questions. Feel free to put those here. Little programming note after this. At 3 o'clock, we will be having a panel on magical girls in webcomics. So please stick around for that. You may see this stream cut out and restart. Just hit refresh on your screen at 3, and you should be golden. But yeah, if anyone has any in the chat, any questions? Yeah. I'm scrolling up to see if we have any. In our chat, we also have one of our other librarians / moderators, Overlord Ray. So.
Oh my goodness. What is your least favorite step in inking, Ice?
Oh god. It might. I don't know if this counts as what you're asking, but it might be putting heavy blacks in the background, because it's such a fine line between getting it right and just destroying the like value balance of a piece.
Yes.
You can just like you can make such like one wrong move and suddenly the eye is drawn in all the wrong places. You're just like, oh no, I've ruined it.
That's definitely the problem with the fact that you're like, I'm committed to inking. Oh no, I've made a mistake. This is horrible.
It's that meme. I'm a genius. Oh no.
Yes.
That meme is art, just as a whole.
Yes. That meme is
art. Phantom Marine in the chat asks, any brands you suggest people stay away from, or any brands that you feel are just plain old cursed?
Plain old cursed.
Not really that I can think of. Wait, they said brands, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't really encountered any brands that are downright bad. I don't know. Like a lot of them are decent. It really just comes down to what you are looking for. Like each one has its own kind of thing.
Yeah. I have a pen by the brand Monami, and it's great for sketch inks. But you cannot combine it with anything else because there's always those different types of inks where they actually have the tint of blues in them that are not pure black. So when you start to combine different types of inks, you'll see the difference and you'll be like, I made a decision here.
Yeah. I have discovered one,
oh no, go for it.
I've discovered one mystery brand that I got for Christmas one time that my parents got for me, that I can find it on Amazon, but I don't know what the brand name is. Like I tried Googling it and nothing shows up. I have no idea where to find it except for that one single place on Amazon. What? And like they're decent pens. Like I love their wedge tips, but it's just like I don't know what their brand is. Like they're just like generic
SCP pens.
Yeah, they're a mystery to me.
They're just called inking pens, and you're like, yes, but
they're called microline pens, and it's like that's all of them. I can't find you.
find you.
Lurizons asks in the chat, any tips on inking hair?
Oh yes.
Yeah, don't be afraid to be sketchy with it, as always. But also, you, I don't know. God, it really depends on what you're looking for. You kind of want to, in my opinion, you kind of want to make sure the edges connect and you kind of go back up from the point, because that kind of gives it a good, like, fill to it. But if you're inking, I don't know, I guess that also works for, like, extra dark hair, because if you're doing, like, black hair, you can also just start from the tip and ink up, and then you can kind of ink back down from the root, and you get a nice little, like, shine going to it. You know what I mean?
100% agree. It's all on how
Yeah.
you control the brush and the points that you start. So like starting from the root going down could be interesting, but the pressure sometimes gives you like this like fat little line at the end. And usually when you're inking with hair, it wants you to go at a thinner moment and then going back up with something like that. So a lot of it depends on the way that you hold and the pressure that you have. And again, with what I said, what you're looking for with hair. Because I mean, sketch
Yeah.
still works with hair. That still looks like hair.
Oh yeah. Also depending on the hairstyle, because sometimes you
Yeah.
can just. I have an example here, real quick. You can just get away with scribbling sometimes with a big tip. Yeah. That's from another thing, but yeah, I don't know. It depends. I would recommend look up some pictures of nice hair and turn the saturation all the way, or turn the contrast all the way up.
Yeah.
See what that looks like.
That's fun. Well, we are officially out of time. So, fortunately, we couldn't get to all the questions, but if you still have questions, feel free to add us on Twitter. Where can folks find each of you online?
I am at ghost_art on Twitter, and that's basically it.
And I am at feather_notes on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for hanging out with us today. It's been a blast. For everyone in the chat, please stick around. We have three more fantastic panels coming up today. So
thank you, Rennie.
So
yeah, it's been great.
And feel free to, and remember to click like and subscribe and click the bell to get notified whenever we have the whenever we start a new panel. You'll get notified. Sometime or next week we're gonna upload whatever we can to YouTube as far as videos on demand. So if you happen to miss this, we're gonna try and upload this for everyone else, and follow the Webcomic Library on Twitter as well. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you in 10 minutes for the next panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.